So good morning everybody. I've made my way back down to the Olympic Park this morning and we're going to finish off this trip through the Lea Valley Regional Park. I've just managed to find myself this little piece of shade outside the London Stadium, which, as you know, is the spot that we finished part 4 of our trip through the park. Just south of the Olympic Park is where the main regional park ends at 3 Mills Island. So we're going to make our way down there first, have a look at 3 Mills Island, and then there's just 2 other little spots that I want to show you as we make our way down to the River Thames. So I'm going to make my way to 3 Mills Island and I'll catch up with you there. So this is 3 Mills Island. The mill with the 2 big towers on it is called the Clock Tower Mill, and the other smaller one to the left there is called the House Mill. There's only 2 mills on site today and neither of them are working. The House Mill is open on Sunday mornings as a museum for people to go in and see how the mill used to work. It's the largest tidal mill in the world. Been mills on the site since the 9th century. Obviously these are not the original buildings, they've been blown up, burnt down and rebuilt many times over. They finally finished being used as mills in 1952. So 3 Mills Island consists of some fancy brand new apartments that are now building, the mills that we've just seen, and then this small park in the middle. It's called an island because on one side you've got the canalised part of the River Lea that goes down to the locks at Bow. And on the opposite side, we'll just go and have a look at, you've got the locks that hold back the tide into the tidal pool for the mills. And the locks this side are a lot more modern than the old mills that we've just seen. And this is called Three Mills Lock. So that was Three Mills Island, and following the River Lea now becomes pretty much impossible. It starts to wind backwards and forwards through London, it becomes very windy and bendy, but the land prices are so valuable down here that there are no paths that go along the side of it. There are small sections that you can still ride along, but no one continuous path. The canalised part of the River Lea goes off to Limehouse in completely the wrong direction, so we won't be following that, but we are going to follow the River Lea down to the Thames, because there's another couple of little spots right near the Thames that are still part of the Lea Valley Regional Park. So we're going to make our way down there now, but I've got to divert away from the river for about the next 15 minutes. So now we're really in the industrial heart of London, and there's not an inch to spare. Everywhere's built on. Apart from the Bow Creek Ecological Park. So I've made my way through all these building sites and heavy industry, and then we come across this little island. It's just a little finger of green where the river goes up one side, around a loop, and comes back down the other. And it's even got the Docklands Light Railway that goes right the way through the middle of it. But the Bow Creek Ecology Park is just a lovely little island of green right in the heart of industrial London. And it's all part of the Lea Valley Regional Park. So we go down one side, under the railway bridge, turn the corner, and back up the other side. It really is that small. It's just a tiny, tiny little park. Thank you. But I did say that I would show you all the park, so this is part of it. Now, to get to the final part of the Lea Valley Regional Park, I need to catch a lift. No, we're not catching a lift on that. And just here the river does another big bend back on itself, and goes down the other side of all these buildings. I think that's called City Island, with all the big blocks on it. It's exactly the same shape and size as the park that we just rode through, but they've managed to put all those buildings on it. Anyway, let's catch that lift. What did you think I meant? It's a lift. Hello. Now, I think my flag's probably going to get in the way of the door. There we go. That took a long time, didn't it? And then we're getting another lift. Quite lucky they have a lift big enough to fit the Trike in, really, isn't it? Yeah, so this is called City Island. Home to the English National Ballet. How did I know that? Because there's a big sign up on that building that says exactly that. So we make our way through City Island, where they're still building. It's amazing they can fit any more on here, to be honest. Good luck and hope. I think we'd better go around this way then. This is the River Lea, still bending backwards and forwards. As I said, there are little bits of pathway that get you near it, but then we have big building sites going on that have just taken all the path away, so you can't carry on. Good luck and hope this way. Better carry on going around here then. Right, just through this gate is our next little stopping off point. And that is the East India Dock Basin. the most southerly point of the Lea Valley Regional Park. Built in the very early 1800s, I believe, by the East India Company, of course, hence the name. There's not much water in there today. I think it's only on the highest tides that there's still some water manages to come back in here. Otherwise it's just been turned into another nature reserve for the birds. And then just over the other side there are two big lock gates out onto the River Thames. We'll go and have a look at that. Must have been fantastic in the days when this was full of big sailing boats loading and unloading. Thank you. And there we go, out onto the River Thames. So there's the lock gates that hold back the tidal Thames from the East India dock. So there's an interesting set of flags and a pile of stones next to it. And I've just locked up Trinity and walked away from her for a minute because cycles are not allowed along here. But this is Virginia Key. And if you remember a few weeks ago we talked about Captain John Smith, who was among the first settlers in Virginia, and this is the key, from what I can gather, this is the key from where they set off on their trip. So there's this memorial there, which, as I say, is a little more than a pile of stones, but it's got a nice bronze wheel at the top there, or is that a compass? It's a compass, I think. There we go. And that looks out over the Millennium Dome. Right, I left Trini all alone, so we better get back to her. But I thought you'd like to see that, because we did talk about Captain John Smith a couple of weeks ago. Ah, good, she's still here when I got back. Using my favourite little cable lock on the front wheel. Ah, it's just a short walk. The memorial's just over there. And the East India dock is just over there that I just showed you. So I wasn't too far away from her. So that's a rather strange looking box. It is an instrument. It's called flood tide. And it actually makes noises determined by the strength of the incoming and outgoing tide in the Thames. There's a cable comes out of the bottom of it, goes into the river, and it picks up movements in the water. And I can't hear it making any noise at the moment, but then, having said that, there's not exactly a lot of movement in the water at the moment. The tide's fairly still, unfortunately. And next to flood tide, we have a lunar time. And a lunar time is a public moon and tide clock. It shows the different phases of the moon, whether it's waxing or waning, and the strength of the tide. There's not very much of it lit up today, so I'm guessing the tide isn't very strong, and the moon, which I did happen to see last night, is only a very thin sliver at the moment, so there's not very much of that clock lit up either. So that's a lunar time and flood tide at Trinity Buoy Wharf. And Trinity Buoy Wharf is where we're going to call an end to our journey through the Lea Valley Regional Park. And why just here? If I stand up, Trinity Buoy Wharf is also the end of the River Lea. That's the River Lea emptying out into the River Thames. So I hope you've enjoyed our trip down from Ware to the wharf, all the way along the River Lea. I've really enjoyed showing you the way the Lea Valley Regional Park is spread out all the way along the river. But we really have reached the end now. There's no further I can go because we've got to the River Thames, so that's the end of this little series. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please tick that thumbs up button down below. Really appreciate that. And I'll be back with another vlog really soon. Cheers then guys. Ta-da.